And welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider here at NOLA Motorsports Park, PRI in Avondale, Louisiana. I'm your coach for PRI, Rick Gailey, along with the I in PRI, the man who makes coffee nervous, Mr. Renee Nato, the man who energizes all of us here on the set. You just have to be here to believe it.
Oh, man.
And we are joined today by the legendary trainer. It's good to be legendary and still be around.
It is.
We're talking about Dean Kleinschmidt, 50 years overall as an athletic trainer, 41 years in the NFL. Dean, thank you for being here with us today.
It is an honor, Rick, to be here. Thank you. And Renee, I really appreciate the opportunity. Tough duty, though, following those guys from the Ron Eagles, from McDonough 35. Those were some impressive young men. I really enjoyed meeting them. Good guys.
Dean, you know a little bit. I know you're a humble guy. Southeast Association, Trainers Association Hall of Fame. Louisiana Athletic Trainers Association Hall of Fame. National Trainers Association Hall of Fame. Senior Bowl Hall of Fame and the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame. And in 1986, the New Orleans Saints training staff was the training staff of the year in the NFL. And I always tell him, too, that out of 1,600 students at John F. Kennedy, he married one of the top 2 prettiest girls in the whole school. And I say top 2 because she was a twin. And Marlene, but really, seriously, to be recognized at the highest level in your profession is really an honor.
Well, it is, and thank you for that. I think it's those Hall of Fames, though, were just kind of a function of being old. You know, the longer you stick around and you get recognized. But it has been it's been a real honor. It has been a labor of love to work in the organizations that I've worked for. I really wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even a championship ring. I'm telling you, it's just been great. It's been the relationships with the players, coaches, assistant coaches, administrators, that's made it all worthwhile.
And the media.
Oh, absolutely. I've got
That's how I know, Dean.
great friends in the media. I mean, going back to Wayne Mack and Buddy and Hap and I leave out so many good guys. So yes, it's been great.
Absolutely. It is the relationships that matter in football more than any other sport. You forget the length of plays and the final scores and all, but it is those relationships. And we're going to talk about the special relationship between players and trainers in a minute. But you started as the youngest head athletic trainer in the NFL at age 24, but there was a life-changing moment before then when you were working for the Green Bay Packers and somebody that we know and respect very well. Talk about that particular relationship.
Well, let me tell you, that did change my life. I had the opportunity to work for Vince Lombardi. I was a junior in college at Indiana University, and I had an opportunity to become a summer intern for the Packers, which I did for 2 years, and that was really special. I think of all the 17 NFL head coaches that I've worked for over 41 years, and many people will ask, who is the number one guy. And I could answer that by saying I would actually work for just about every one of those guys again. I had great relationships with them. But if you held my feet to the fire, it would be Coach Lombardi. That was so special. This guy knew what everyone was doing in the organization, including me, as an intern athletic trainer. He was a motivator and a terrific football coach, a great mind. So he was really special. I was lucky enough as a junior at Indiana to, in those days, the Rose Bowl was between a Big Ten team and a Pac-10 team. And Indiana won, believe it or not, the Big Ten after the '67 season. So January 1st of '68, I was invited along as the student trainer, and I'm on the sidelines of the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, on January 1st, 1968. Played Southern Cal, and their number 32 was pretty good then. That was O.J. Simpson scored 2 touchdowns, and we lose 14-3. 2 weeks later, January 15th of '68, I'm invited by the Packers to come down and join them at Super Bowl II. It actually wasn't called the Super Bowl then; it was called the World Championship game. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm January 1st, I'm on the sidelines of the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. January 15th, I'm on the sidelines of the Orange Bowl in Miami. It's second Super Bowl, and junior in college, feeling pretty good. but the career kind of went all downhill after that. So, that was it was great.
You've been with the New Orleans Saints since 1969, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir.
You've been at every training camp until this year. It was the first time you haven't been at a training camp. That's got to be tough. But you know, we joke, and I see you an awful lot, Dean, but there's injuries now that I never heard of before. A Lisfranc injury, a high ankle sprain. I mean, were these injuries there? We didn't know what they were, or they just knew things because of turf, or why is there so many different type injuries now that we never heard of 15, 20 years ago?
Well, you're absolutely right. These are a new genre of injury, it seems. I guess we had them around before. We just maybe called them something different. But you talk about the two that you mentioned are pretty simple to explain, but both can be devastating. Both the Lisfranc injury, which is an injury to the midfoot. It's a torsion or twisting injury to the midfoot, and usually that twisting and then falling it creates a tearing of ligaments. And then the high sprain, the high ankle sprain, that probably came around, became very popular more recently. But it's an injury that coaches have a hard time understanding. And the way that and it's just a different sprain than a typical, what I would call a basketball sprain, when you just turn your ankle over. The high sprain is a turning of the foot goes out, the bones of the lower leg, the tib and fib go in, and there's a separation or a splitting of a ligament that holds those two bones together. The more you walk on it, the higher it goes, thus the high sprain. It's okay. And it just keeps, so the treatment for that, and the best thing to do is just immobilize that sucker and put it in a cast. If you do that, it's multi-purpose. One, it puts that ankle to rest, but two, it tells that coaching staff, oh, it's one of those kind of ankle sprains. So it kind of helps them understand a little bit, because they can take a long time. Both the high sprain and the Lisfranc have been known to be operated on a great number of times, depending upon the degree of separation.
And in explaining those injuries, Dean, and we talked about relationships, there has to be a great deal of trust between players and the training staff and football players, and really the whole medical team. But yet in today's football, especially on the professional level, that trust is not always there.
Well, that's true as well, and there's probably a couple of reasons for that. And I think the advent of the player agent has a lot to do with that, where the player puts he pays his agent, so he puts a lot of trust and faith in that guy. And that guy, in some cases, may not have necessarily the player's best interest at heart. I've been blessed, absolutely blessed, the 41 years that I've had in the NFL, plus the other years in college football, to have incredible team physicians, from the orthopedic surgeon to the general practice guy to the specialists that we've used, the foot and ankle specialists, the hand and wrist specialists, the lumbar, the back specialists, the neck specialists. Those guys I have always trusted 100%. They give their opinion, then I feel like that is the absolute best thing for the player. And the problem is, we are seen, I think, as being part of the franchise, part of the organization, where the player and agent may think, well, he doesn't have the player's best interest at hand. He only has to answer to the owner or the general manager or the head coach. And I'm here to tell you that that may be the case in some teams. It's not been the case in the 3 NFL teams that I've been blessed to work with.
And last minute or so, Dean, even though you were not here, your blood, sweat, and tears went into this organization at the time when the Saints won the Super Bowl here, and you knew a lot of people out in the locker room. Wherever you were, you had to get a smile on your face.
Oh, I was so thrilled. I was thrilled for the organization, thrilled for the fans, the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana. Well, have you bled? Yes, you've bled, and that was such a great experience to see that Super Bowl win. Tracy Porter snagging that interception, and he was at Indiana with
Yes.
me. He was a defensive back at Indiana, and a great young man. But yeah, that was terrific. Very happy for the equipment managers, the Dan Simmons and the Silky Powells that have been there as long as I had been there. So it was great, and the doctors and the training staff too. Very happy for those guys. They labor in anonymity. They're behind the scenes. They're never on the marquee, and to get a Super Bowl championship like that's terrific for them.
And that's Dean Kleinschmidt, the legendary trainer. There's no such thing as an ex-trainer, is there?
Not really.
No, not, you just move on to other projects. It's Dean Kleinschmidt, the great trainer. We appreciate you being here, Dean, so much.
It's been an honor.
This
Thank
is
you.
Prep Recruiting Insider here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. We'll be right back.